Hey Heather, happy Monday. How are you today?
I'm doing great. We're headed into fall, kind of. Not in other parts of the country, but Arizona, we're still hot.
Right. We'll still hit, 110 or whatever probably for a while, but we'll pretend it's fall. We can drink pumpkin latte and wear jeans now. It's under 110.
Exactly, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Do you have any big plans coming up?
Just let's see. Kids are back in school, so we've been doing that. And then my stepdaughter's getting married in a couple months, so we're getting ready for that. So that's super exciting. And yeah, I'm kind of enjoying the calm before the storm, which is a sports season. So it's like a first, and we don't have a lot going on. So it's been really nice to kind of be home a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's awesome. I'm glad you're getting the chance to be home and take a breath.
Yeah. How about you?
You know what? Just excited. I've got a lot of things still in the works. I've got a 111 angel messages book coming out November 1st. So I'm working on that, working on the memoir, the Oracle deck of cards. Just things are moving, but it's a lot of fun.
That's amazing. And I know we were talking last week, and November 1st is a big day for you for lots of different reasons.
Absolutely. So November 1st is the anniversary of my third near death experience. And that happened in 2011. So when I get the opportunity to look back at how far I've come and how much my life has changed since that day, it is just unbelievable.
That's really cool. I'm looking forward to that book coming out too. Your first one was so great.
Oh, thanks. It should be fun.
Good. Well, we're gonna get going with some questions today. So to get us started, we got a really great question. It is, I lost my soulmate to cancer. Is it possible for me to find love, connection again in this life? Or do I need to wait until I pass to be with my soulmate again?
Yeah, that is such a heartfelt question. And I think so many people feel that way, especially, here's the thing whether someone has been with their soulmate for 2 years or 10 years or 65 years, right? There is that really deep connection. And it does feel for a lot of people like their soul, they've lost a part of their soul, they've lost a piece of their heart when their loved one transitions. Here's the beautiful thing about life, though. Your soul and your heart and your life is big enough to love more than one person on that level. And very often in these lifetimes, we have more than one soulmate. And I know people don't like to think about that, but I'd like to say, do you have two parents, two kids, two dogs, two cats, two friends, right? We can love two, three, four people very much and very deeply and feel very connected to them, but we love them in different ways. So, absolutely, there is room for another soulmate to come in. It's not going to be the same type of love, it's going to be a different type of love, but knowing that it's available and it's possible. Here's the thing about that: some people make conscious choices and say, I will never love again. And they mean it. And they're not going to date and they're not going to open that door. And there's no possibility of that. And that's okay. I just want to honor that. You just need to know it's a conscious choice. For other people, they say, I want this opportunity. I'm tired of feeling lonely. I'm missing having that companionship. And those people who are willing to take some action will bring in another soulmate.
Thanks, Michelle. It reminds me a little bit when you were talking, and I know it's a different kind of relationship, but when I had my first baby, I remember holding him and being like, I don't think I can have any more children. Like, how could I possibly have enough love or love something more than I love this baby right now? And just feeling like it wasn't possible to do. And then I had my second child shortly after, and I was like, oh, I do have the capacity to love more and more, and that capacity just kept growing and growing with each child that I have. And so I can kind of relate it to that a little bit of there's so much ability to love, and there's no like max on that love that we can give or feel or share.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, and it's so true because love is an energy, but it's not an energy like I need to go clean the yard or I've got to get these errands done, right? It's an energy, it's life force energy. and it is expansive. It is beyond our humanness, isn't what contains love. So let's think about this. You've got four beautiful kids. Your body isn't what contains all the love for them. It's really already being held in your soul because it's so much bigger than your human form. We're talking about these like eternal loving connections and bonds that can't be broken. So love is a beautiful thing to experience as human, but it's already actively being held outside of our bodies in the universe and our soul in this energetic field. So there's always room for more love.
That's so cool. Yeah, it kind of makes your head spin sometime when you start to think about how much love is out there or available to us.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I love about mediumship and these connections is you get to see that this person's love with their loved one literally transcends space and time, because when they're in this heavenly realm, there is no time, and whatever we perceive as the space between earth and heaven, it doesn't exist. They're right here, right now, walking beside of us, aware of what we're dealing with in our life. And so when you look at that, you're like, oh yeah, love is so much bigger than this human body that I'm stuck in right now.
Yeah, and it's like we know love in our human form right now, kind of like you're talking about, but the love of on the other side or in the universe is like so hard for us to comprehend because it's so much bigger than we can imagine in our human form.
Absolutely, it is. And I just let me touch on that for a minute, because in my near death experiences, when I've gotten to the other side, it is a love that is beyond human comprehension, in the sense that I truly every time felt like I was perfect. And that wasn't because I wanted to think that. That was because I was being looked at and held with this love and this grace and compassion about um, we are each infinitely loved beyond measure, to the point where truly we can't comprehend it. And in my human experience, the closest thing I can relate it to is the way that I love my kids. And that is still not even close to what it feels like to be in that heavenly love.
Thanks, Michelle. All right, our next question. Do animals go to heaven?
I love this question. So back to the NDEs. Today's an NDE talking about it kind of day, I guess. Um, Absolutely. So let's talk about, where was I? I was in first grade. I had been raised Catholic. My dog died. I was really sad. I went to Sunday school, and my teacher told me that my dog didn't go to heaven because it didn't have a soul. And I remember being crushed and being just like, I was sure his name was Peppy, by the way. He was this little like Chihuahua dog thing. Anyway, I was sure he had a soul. I remember singing to him. He was my best friend on certain days, right? But it was really devastating to hear that. So I never bought into that story about animals don't have a soul, and I'm really glad I didn't. But in my second NDE, my beautiful white German Shepherd Tahoe, who was one of my soulmate dogs, was literally the first one to walk into the operating room and take me to this next level that I was headed to, of being on the beach with her and the connection as I went through that NDE. So yes, our animals go to heaven. Anybody who really looks at animals, you can see that they have personalities, right? Some are like lazy, some are spunky, some are funny, some are, I mean, there's so much personality and individual energy around each animal. So they have souls, they go to heaven. You're going to see your beautiful fur babies or reptiles or whatever you loved when you get there.
I love that. Thanks, Michelle. I know I look at my dogs every day and they make me laugh or smile, and like they're predictable because like they have their personalities, and you're like, oh, this is what they want or this is what they're doing. It's so funny to watch them.
Yeah, it is. It is really funny to watch them.
All right. Thanks, Michelle. Our next question is, how do you get your information?
I love that question. So this is a question I get asked a lot, because mediums and psychics all work differently. So if you've had readings with some, and will probably or look different than mine or other people. So for me, when I'm getting my information, a lot of it comes in telepathically or energetically. So what I would say is I am feeling the information. I will see something. So sometimes spirit drops a picture in my head. Sometimes I'll hear words or a sentence. So there's information coming in different ways. Sometimes I can smell things. So sometimes I'll be like, I don't know, if someone was a smoker, I can smell cigars or things like that. But with this being said, I'm not going to be able to describe to you what grandma looked like because I'm not seeing grandma standing in front of me when I'm doing readings. So my information is telepathic and energetic. But when you think about that, a feeling is worth 1,000 words. A picture is worth 1,000 words. They're very good at communicating. And I'm always amazed at how sometimes people will say to me, that's exactly what they would say. And that's coming through off of a feeling, not off of me repeating a sentence that they're telling me.
Very cool. Thanks, Michelle. Our next question. How can I continue feeling connected with my loved ones even after they have passed?
That is a great question. And so, one of the things about that is we're going to go through the natural process of grief. And at some point in this process, we are feeling the void of their physical presence. And that's really a challenge for us. But what we're wanting to do is to move into the space of noticing where they're at. Because what we're feeling is the void of the physical body, but their love, their spirit, their compassion, their connection to us, that has not changed at all. So we want to start shifting our energy to saying, okay, let me feel you. Let me see you. What signs do you have for me today? There's still an open channel of communication that's happening with your loved one in spirit. We're just wanting to open it up so that it's more obvious to us. It's like learning a new language, right? We're no longer in communication with the human body, but we're learning sign language, we're learning telepathy, we're learning different ways of communication. Focus on when they're there. The other thing that I want to add to this is it's easier to look for them when we are in a better space emotionally. So, not in the darkest, heaviest grief, but when our vibration's higher and it's easier to feel or see them.
Thanks, Michelle. And I find it interesting too, how often they will communicate with us through other people.
Yeah, all the
Um,
time.
yeah. I feel like sometimes we either like we're not in a good place or we might not be looking for it, and then it'll come in through someone else. And if they're open to receiving those messages, and that's always really cool.
Yeah, and that's a really great point, right? Because our loved ones, our angels, our life guides, they are always trying to get us messages and information and help us move to the next level. And so we are very often throughout the day channeling information from source or loved ones, even if it's like you're working with somebody in whatever capacity and you say something to them and they're like, my mom always used to say that. Yep, because your mom just took a moment to hop in and drop in a message through this person for you. So you're right. It's spot on. Our loved ones are always trying to send us signs and messages. Here's part of the challenge with that, though. We have to be open enough to want it and receive it. And I'm not talking about longing for it. I'm talking about not being cynical, right? Because I could be like, you know what? There are 2 billion butterflies in the world. That butterfly, how do I know that's from my mom? I can choose to be that way, or I can say, what are the chances that my mom loved yellow and this yellow butterfly just flew literally right in front of my face, right? And go ahead and receive that sign from my mom.
Thanks, Michelle. I love that. All right, our next question. What steps will support my healing on a deeper level?
Yeah, so this is really important for people to think about because number one of the questions I love to share with people is what does healing look like for you? So, no matter what the trauma is in your life, whether it was done to you, taken from you, whatever the situation is, the only person responsible for our healing is us. And that's really hard when we feel like we have been the victim of trauma from other people. And yet, at the end of the day, the healing is our responsibility alone. So, the question, what does healing look like for you, is really important because it's an ever evolving question. And what that means is that, when Gary first died, it was like, I would just like to get through the grocery store without crying today. And then I got to the point where I could do that. Okay, what does healing look like for me now? And so it gave me the possibility with that. When we're going into the trauma that we're working with, obviously I am very supportive of therapist, neuro linguistic programming, EMDR, EFT, whatever you need to do to move through this. use tools to help yourself that have been, verified and we know can help you. But the other thing is really finding that grace and compassion for ourselves, because so often we want to beat ourselves up that we're not through it yet. I should have been through that. I thought I handled that. Why aren't I over the divorce yet? Why aren't I over the death yet? Or whatever that is. And really understanding that true healing is kind of like that onion, and it's not a linear line, it's a spiral, and it has levels, and each day we get to unwrap a new level, but it will get easier as you continue on this journey.
Thanks, Michelle. When you were speaking a little bit, and when you talked about allowing ourselves to feel that and the shoulds, I feel like for me, there's been times where I have been so hard on myself. Like I should be here. I should be this healed. I shouldn't be feeling this way. And that was actually a lot of the emotion that I was feeling, was the guilt and shame. And once I allowed myself to feel the very thing that I thought I shouldn't be feeling, it was actually a lot easier and smoother than all the resistance I was putting up against those feelings.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does. It's huge. And I want to say this, after Gary passed by suicide, one of my really good friends said to me, those are rabbit holes. Don't go down there. Woulda, shoulda, coulda, right? So part of healing trauma is allowing ourselves permission to not step in the rabbit hole. What if, would have, should have, all of these things that you're right, suck that joy out of us. And what I found is you're never going to beat the rabbit hole. You really aren't. Like, you're going to break your ankle on that every single time. So when you see that they're coming up, choose a different path for yourself. The other thing that I want to bring into this about like grief, as far as, trauma from grief from loved ones passing, a lot of times I will have clients that will say to me, I'll never smile again because they're not here. I'll never laugh again. I can never be happy again. And I want to say that that is a conscious choice. And I love you and I honor your journey, whoever you are. But your loved ones are in heaven, smiling, laughing, living. They are connected to you right now, cheering you on to go to lunch with the friend, to take the vacation, to laugh every chance you get, because they know this opportunity is just a small blip in the scale of eternity. And so if you're making the choice to not be happy again or not allow yourself to laugh, I'm going to honor that. That's your free will choice. But I'm going to tell you that is not what your loved ones want for you.
Thanks, Michelle. Okay, our next question. When I get the sense I'm being watched, is it always my guides, or can other beings drift in just to observe me?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm like, how are we going to answer this one? With that being said, our guides are watching us, our angels are watching us, our loved ones in spirit are checking in on us, right? So it can be more than our guides. It can be angels, it can be loved ones, it can be a pet, as we've talked about in this situation. It can also be energy from the heavenly realm that is maybe thinking of coming to planet Earth, right? So let's talk about this. Not all souls that want to be on planet Earth are here yet. We actually have lines of souls wanting the chance to get here, which I know is interesting because a lot of the people here feel like they're in a prison sentence and they're like, how much longer? But there are lines of souls waiting to come here. They get the opportunity to observe. It does not mean that they're observing your personal life and, things like that would be weird. But what it means is they're getting to see, how are you dealing with the challenge at work? How are you dealing with the challenge in the family and things like that? And that's because the universe is giving them a bigger picture, saying, is this the soul plan that you want? Is this the choice that you want? This is what it looks like on planet Earth.
Thanks, Michelle. I love that. All right, our next question. I love this question. Are dreams actual visits to alternate realities where another version of me is living a different life?
Oh, that is a great question. That's really fun. Okay, so here we go. We're going to get a little woo-woo on this one. There are alternate timelines and alternate realities that are happening. They are still connected to your soul. So like I've talked about before, the picture behind me to me represents the soul. You can't see this clearly today, but there are different lines, right? So the version of me that lived 5,000 years ago is one of these rays of light. on and on and on. So we have multiple timelines that are happening, which means in some timeline, and let me use this personal example with this. It was 2 nights after Gary died. I was in a dream. He came to get me, but it felt real. He literally was in a different timeline. So he reached his hand down and I could feel his hand grab mine. It was like he was a couple feet above me and he was getting ready to pull me up to the timeline so I could see where we were still together in a couple and he was still alive in his human form. And I got so excited, I woke up and I was never able to get back to that timeline. So it's really important to know that yes, in our dreams we can see other versions of ourselves and other timelines, and it's interesting because a lot of people are just now starting to talk about this, but knowing that we would have really different lives if we made different choices. Like, what if you married your high school sweetheart, or what if, right, in some timeline somewhere your soul's having that experience.
That's so crazy to think about.
I know it is. I mean, the only true personal experience I've ever had with that was that one with Gary. But I remember feeling his hand, and I was literally so excited it woke me up. And then I haven't been able to get back. However, there is a level of peace when you start to think like on some other timeline, he and I are still a couple, or on some other timeline, you're still with your mom and dad, or you're still with your soulmate or your child or whatever that is, because that does exist.
So do you believe there's different types of dreams? Like that dream you had with Gary was very unique. I mean, sometimes we have dreams that don't make any sense. There's other times I have dreams that feel so real. Or I've had dreams where I feel like my soul has gone somewhere else while I was sleeping and then returned when I woke up. So I don't know. They're just all different types of things that can go on while we're sleeping?
Yes. So what's happening while our physical body is sleeping, our soul's not sleeping. Our soul doesn't need to sleep. So we can be remembering dreams, which is our brain processing stuff that happened in the day. People have astral travel. So a lot of people will go to other dimensions, timelines, places, and have memories that they are able to bring back. Some people come back with psychic information, right? A lot of psychics get their information while they're sleeping. You can connect with a loved one in a dream, and that's more of a visit than a dream, because normally when we make that connection, we feel them, they're solid, they're tangible, they'll do something that we forgot that they did in life, like, oh yeah, they used to make that expression, but they're really saying, I'm right here right now. So when our body is resting, our soul is still playing and activating and growing and learning.
I love that. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Do spirits ever get bored of watching over humans, or do they experience time differently so boredom doesn't exist?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the answer is no, they don't get bored. That's a human situation, but the time is different on the other side, right? So when I had my near-death experiences, I didn't know if I was there for a second, an hour, a day, a week. There really is this energy of no time. So think about being someone's life guide. This is the way that I feel like it would be. They'd be like, all right, I'll babysit you for 5 minutes. That's kind of the idea of being in that heavenly realm. Then we come to planet Earth, and if we're here 100 years and it feels like it's been 1,000, and we're facing time challenges in that way. But for a life guide, it's really like, yeah, I'll babysit you for 5 minutes.
Thanks, Michelle. All right, our next question. Are there colors, sounds, or sensations in the spirit realm that humans literally can't perceive?
That's a great question. And the answer is 100% yes. So even in my second near-death experience, when I was on the beach with my dog, there were colors that we do not have here. I can't even describe them, because you're not seeing them through your human eyes. You're seeing them through your soul, right? There are emotions that we don't feel here. There are all of it. Sounds, absolutely. Our human body has adjusted well to planet Earth, but it is kind of like a wall sometimes in what it's able to move through. So the colors, the visibility of things here are very shallow compared to what's available in the universe, which is an ocean of depth of sound, sights, feelings, emotions, colors.
So cool. Thank you. All right, our next question. I want to give space for people to change, but something I struggle with are extremely narcissistic people or people with NPD. Can they change? It is my understanding that a narcissistic person cannot.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's an intense question. So here's what, and everybody's mind just went to that one person who they feel like fits that category. Here's what I will tell you: miracles happen every day on planet Earth. So we cannot rule it out with 100% certainty. Is it likely? Probably not. And I'm going to tell you why. Because people have to want to change, right? And most narcissists are actually very happy. We need to look at people and realize that what they're doing, how they're talking and showing up and acting, they're doing that way because it works for them, right? Their life is working for them. So it's not that it's 100% impossible for this person to change. It's just not very likely because their life is still working for them.
Thanks, Michelle. All right, our next question. My friend's baby was born with liver issues and already had a surgery, but is still struggling. She will likely need a liver transplant one day, but we aren't sure if she'll make it that far. I know some souls are only meant to be here for a short time. Is there any comforting messages Spirit has for Ben about Alina? Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
that was a follow-up question that we had last week.
Yeah. You know what I do, just like last week, I got the information that I felt like she is going to heal and move forward. I'm still receiving that information for her. So just holding that space, it's really hard because when we are, worrying about a situation or fearful about it, and how could you not be in this situation being a human, right? The energy that we bring in is more weary and worry and fear. So what we're wanting to do is we're going to want to wrap her in this beautiful blanket of white golden energy healing light, knowing that her body does have the ability to heal, and just really start to pour that love and healing energy on her.
Thanks, Michelle. All right, our next question. It is my understanding that the soul is perfect. So why does it come to earth to want to experience the grief, pain, sadness polarities of life? It's like saying I want to be living on the street when I have a beautiful loving home. Why does the soul need to or want to experience the negatives of earth life?
Yeah, I mean, that is a great question. And I'm going to tell you why, because we want the contrast. So let's talk about this. We are not forced to be here on a soul level, right? We get to choose to come back in. We have a soul plan. We get to say, I want to have these experiences. I want to marry this person. I want to learn this lesson, all of these things. I like to say, think of your very favorite vacation spot, wherever that is, Lake Powell for you, Heather. Like after 500 years on Lake Powell, do you think you would be like, is there a restaurant? Is there a new place we could go in the boat? Is there, right? Is there a new hike we could take? So what happens is that, imagine your favorite vacation spot. After 200 to 500 years there, your soul is going to say, I want to learn. I want to have contrast. I want to experience different things. And because of that, we choose to come to planet Earth. The other thing that I will tell you, we can learn in heavenly realm, right? But if I'm going to experience the life as Michelle in heavenly realm and not take on a body, it's very similar to being in a driver's ed simulator in high school, where you're sitting behind this machine and you're driving, and oh well, you wreck the car, who cares? It doesn't really matter. You hit the restart button, right? But human life as Michelle in this body feels like boots on the ground in a war zone some days, you know? And so my soul is getting to learn and really thrive in a much deeper level of learning versus playing what feels like the video game. And so that's why our souls would choose to come back. The other thing is, keep in mind, while we're here on planet Earth, these things feel really real. Like there's that I remember the day Gary died. Heather, you know, you were there with me. It's very real. The gravity of it is very real. And yet in heavenly realm, my soul always knew he didn't die because he couldn't. He's an eternal soul.
Thanks, Michelle. It's a good question.
Yeah.
All right, so that'll be our last question for today. My recent trip to London made me feel like I had a previous experience there. Is it possible that I could have had a past life experience there?
100%. So, very often in this lifetime, we have bucket list items or places that we're feeling called to for a reason. And that is because you've had a past life there. You have a memory there on a soul level. Maybe your soul really loved that place. Or we go there and we're like, I feel like this is home. I feel like I've been here before, right? There's almost this knowing that doesn't make sense to us. And that is because most likely you've had a past life there.
Thanks, Michelle. Well, thank you for all your wonderful questions today.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a great day. Please like and subscribe to this channel. We always have a great time doing this. And thank you so much, Heather, for showing up again, like always.
Of course, it's one of my favorite things.
All right, everyone, have a great week. Bye.
Bye.